Are you ready to boost your confidence when selling so you're able to close more deals? Nikki Rausch will show you how to build a foundation of skills and a mindset that creates sales success without feeling pushy or salesy and without fear of rejection. She is a sales strategist and coach with more than 25 years of sales experience and is master certified in neuro-linguistic programming. This is a radically different approach to selling. It's a no sleaze, no slime, and no stress approach to building your business. This is Sales Maven. Here's Nikki.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to the Sales Maven Show. I'm your host, Nikki Rausch, your own personal sales maven, here to offer you tips, techniques, and strategies to master your sales conversations. Today's episode is a sales success story. I am absolutely thrilled to bring to the show today our guest, which is Jamie Van Kuyt. Jamie is a member of the Sales Maven Society, has been for a while. She is phenomenal. I'm so excited for you guys to meet her. Jamie, welcome to the show, friend.
Hi, Nikki. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad you said yes to this. I'm really excited to dig into the topic that we're going to talk about and the success that you have had. But before we do that, tell people about you and your business, because what you're doing is so interesting.
Yes. Yeah. So I am Jamie Van Kuyt, and I am the owner and lead strategist of Growing Your Team. Small business owners hire us to guide them through the process of learning how to hire and manage their first teams. We work with solopreneurs who are just starting to branch out and hire their first employee or a long-term contractor, and all the way up to the small businesses that have about 10 employees, but are still trying to figure out how to perfect the hiring process. You know, they've had some bad hires in the past, and they're tired of going through this cycle of let's hope and pray we can get the right person, and they're ready to get strategic so they can get the right person on their team every time.
Yeah. And so I know you have different packages, different ways that people can work with you. Will you talk through those a little bit? And the reason I want you to talk through these specifically is because I was on a mastermind call earlier this week with my group of mastermind ladies. And there is a woman in the group who was talking about how she really needed to hire somebody with a very specific skill set and the feeling of overwhelm of having to go out and find that person. And I was like, oh, you just got to hire Jamie. She can do this for you. She'll help do all the stuff that you're stressing about, and it'll be so worth it. So tell us a little bit about different ways that you work with clients in your packages.
Yeah. And what you just said, Nikki, that aligns with so many of my clients. I know right now, one that I'm working with actually for their second position they want to hire for is the first one they came to me. They're like, this is such a specific skill set. Here's what we really want. Here are some of the things we are willing to budge on because we don't think we can find the person. They end up getting so many applicants that matched exactly what they wanted that they're like, this is amazing. And you saved us all this time so we didn't have to do it ourselves. Let's work together again. So yes, I can help find that unicorn person, because it's possible when you know how to put your position out there in the market and interview people so you can uncover if someone's the right fit. But yes, so the way I work with my clients is there's pretty much 3 different levels, and it's all about focusing on the hiring strategy. So making sure we have the right materials to go out and identify the right candidates. Level 1 is the basic level is I create your hiring strategy for you. You then go out and execute it all on your own. Level 2, we work together throughout the hiring process. So after I create all the documents for you that are going to help you find that unicorn employee, you then execute it, but I am there guiding you every step of the way, answering your questions, encouraging you, making sure that you're making decisions and making the right decisions to get that best team member on your team, and not letting things like mindset or fear of bringing in the wrong person stop you from that process. And then the highest level is I understand that a lot of business owners don't have time. That's one of the number one reasons they need to hire is they're lacking time. So they might not have time to review all the resumes, post a job on the job boards, conduct those first round interviews. So I have a recruiting package where we act as that talent acquisition team and do all the upfront work for our clients. So all they have to do is show up on those last interviews with the top candidates and make their decision.
I love that. I mean, I know as a business owner, I couldn't imagine not picking that top package that has you do all the work. So does this also include, I feel like it does, but I, again, don't want to make some assumptions here. Are you helping them write job descriptions so that they can identify? I love that you call it the unicorn person. That makes me laugh. I love that so much. So yes to job descriptions.
Yeah, so we write the job description. If it's a position that you haven't hired for yet, we do all the research on what should this position be called and what the pay scale should be. We then tell our clients exactly what to look for when you start getting an application. So that way you're not trying to read between the lines, spending a long time on resumes, that you're able to quickly look and it's pretty much like a checklist. Do they have X? Do they have Y? Do they have Z? Okay, they get an interview. They don't. Nope, we're passing on them. And then providing them very detailed interview guides that are specifically created for each position. So that way they're uncovering what's important to them and their company. We don't have any generic questions that we ask, any generic interview guides. Everything's created specifically for the company, pulling out what that business owner told me was important about their role and the impact that role will have on their company.
Wow. Okay, so I feel like I'm interviewing you now because I'm like, this is so interesting. And hopefully it's interesting to the listener too, that you're thinking about if you are going to bring somebody on your team, like at what stage would I go, okay, I need to go talk to Jamie? Is it like a certain level of employee in the organization, or it could be like, I'm just ready to bring on, a part-time assistant or an executive assistant, or like how would you answer that?
It can be any type of position. We've helped clients go from hiring part-time assistants to helping recruit for a new executive director that was replacing the founding executive director of a nonprofit. So everything in between, we help with it all.
That is phenomenal. And to know that there are resources out there for those of us who own our own business. And as we're growing and bringing on team members, I know that when the first time I ever brought on an executive assistant, that I would have really benefited from the work that you do. Like I've made a few not great hiring decisions, and I feel like I'm super lucky right now with the team that I have, but I really feel like it was luck. I don't feel like there was much strategy behind it because I don't have this documentation and stuff that you have in place, which seems like once somebody has this, if for some reason that person leaves, they can always fall back to this documentation again. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so it's reusable and so that you can use it again and again because I know everyone wants team members that are going to be with them forever, but the reality is even the best team members, there's always something that comes up that might make it so they have to leave or they can no longer work for your company or they're so amazing they get promoted into something else as your business grows. So
Yeah.
it's important to have those documentation that you can go back and repeat so that you can get another rock star team member in that position.
And are there a specific field of like that you are more apt to work with, or does it really not matter about the field?
Yeah. So for the most part, it doesn't matter. We're open to working with most any industries. The only ones that we try to avoid are the positions that are just naturally high turnover. So mostly things in the hospitality world. So if you're a cafe owner that's looking to just having a server or someone coming in and working your cash register and those positions that are typically high turnover, those are the ones that we'll normally say no to because most likely you're going to end up hiring possibly a college student that's going to then be out of that position in a few months anyway. So, but we have helped people at the same time hire for their boutique where it is more of a cashier, store associate position that could technically be more high turnover, but based on how we structure the position, they want someone more long-term. So we're able to identify in the process who is going to be someone who's a long-term fit versus someone who's just going to be in and out because all they're looking for is a temporary job to pay the bills. So with that, if they're in those like high turnover positions, we're just going to do our due diligence to make sure that it's worth the client's money for us to go and create all these documents for them. Other than that, we are pretty open, but the type of businesses that we find ourselves working with most often are the ones that are in service-based industries and typically have some sort of brick and mortar component. So they have an in-person office that their clients can go and visit them in, or they're serving clients in person versus being strictly all online businesses.
Awesome. I love this. So smart. And you're so you are such a pleasure to work with. I just would imagine that your clients are loving the experience with you. So
Thank you.
all right, well, let's dig in a little bit to the reason that the reason I asked you to come on the show specifically was because you were sharing with me in one of our strategy calls about how you had used something that we had worked on and the results that it garnered for you. But tell us a little bit about what was the situation initially before you and I dug into it and worked on it, and then we'll talk about what happened.
Yeah, so I had a client who was already a repeat client. We had worked together on a project, I think it was about a year ago, and then coming back to help with another hiring initiative. And this client was pretty much wanting when she came in this time, the lower tier. So she was going to be leading all her hiring herself. She just wanted help creating the documents and making sure that she was going through the process with the right materials. While we were working on that, I identified that she needed some additional help, mostly because she was lacking time. And the client said to me in a meeting, she goes, I think I'm going to stop taking clients in Q4 so I can focus on filling this position because I can't take on new clients and do all the hiring myself at the same time. And that was the big thing for me. It was like, wait, I do recruiting services. Maybe she doesn't remember that I do recruiting services. I feel like she has a need here. Let me invite her to work with me on this level.
Which I love that because to me, you're recognizing the buying signal right there, whether she intended to give you one or not. Anytime a client, what are those oh my gosh, when somebody says this, that is a great opportunity for possibly for us to work together. So in this particular case, anybody who says, I'm going to put my business on hold so that I can hire, I'm not going to take on new clients, which is revenue into your business, right? So that I have time to do all of these other things. That's such a great, that's a potential buying signal or at least some type of opportunity that I want to check out. So now tell us a little bit about kind of what happened next, how we structured this and what.
Yeah. So from being a part of the Sales Maven Society, I know that Nikki's always very open to helping with communication that we're going to send out to kind of have that little pitch going out in an email. And so I drafted up an email, explaining to her, putting it out there that, okay, let's paint this picture. What does it look like when you're going to stop taking on clients? So focusing on that revenue loss from stopping to take on work. Now let's look at this package. And also in that particular case, she had already paid for the hiring documents to be created. So it's like we could just upgrade to the other package and have her pay the difference. So it wasn't even like she had to go into the full additional investments. It was, okay, you can go in for just this rate because we've already done all this work here. Let's discount what you've already paid for and just pay the difference. So, but the one thing that, I know that I'm still not perfect at writing these entire emails yet. So I drafted the email the best I could and then posted it in the group to say, hey, Nikki, can you do a quick review on this? Let me know what I should change. Also knowing that I had a few questions in there, knowing that this particular client, because she's so busy, a lot of times when we're communicating, it's through email and not necessarily on the phone. So it's do I still offer her times to get on the phone, even though we'll most likely make the decision through email and stuff like that. And just perfecting that email. So when it went out, it was written in a way that would make her feel that saying yes was the only answer.
I do remember this. So the idea here was you did have some questions. You had given me something to start with and also gave me some parameters of like, this is what I want to accomplish. This is what I want the message to, to be. And I want it to be a really easy yes for her, which is
Yes.
what we ended up coming up. I came back with some edits and, this is and so then tell us what happened. You sent the email.
Yeah, so I sent the email. And for this one, we actually did get on a call. So it was great that I still went and offered the three options of jumping on a call. So we did get on a call and talk more about what this package would entail. She immediately said yes. We started working together on that package. And then one of her other team members ended up having to leave. So then she hired me to recruit for that position as well. So it went from working on a small scale to then getting her on this recruiting package that she needed to then recruiting for two positions. So it was kind of then the snowball effect. And the best thing that happened was when we were working through everything, she made comments of how I knew exactly what to say in that email to make her realize that this is what she needed and that she needed this additional service. And I came back and immediately told Nikki that. I was like, thank you for helping me figure out how to perfect the wording in this email so it spoke directly to her. And it wasn't about how I wanted to help her. It was about how she needed this help.
Yeah. So this is it goes back to this all the time. And I spend a lot of time on words and how to craft your messages so that they are received really well by the reader and that it spurs this next conversation. Like this is really the crux of my work that I do. And so I love to hear the success stories that those of you who come, and we get to tweak things and work on things together. And then you go out and put it out into the world and get these amazing results. It's super satisfying. But it really kind of comes down to, and this was one of the reasons why I wanted to have this discussion with you, is I think sometimes it's easy to just go like, I'll just send the email. Like I won't take the time to really put a lot of thought into it, or not that you didn't put thought into it, but like I'm not going to, really kind of invest in crafting the email. Like she'll get the gist of it and it'll be enough. But that's actually not true. It's not enough to just send the gist of what you want the message to be. There's a presupposition in neurolinguistic programming, which is the meaning of your communication is based on the response you get. And I think in this particular case, this is why I kind of beat my drum constantly about, it all counts. The words that you pick count. The way you structure your sentences count. The idea of giving 3 times and doing that work, it counts because the end result is you get your outcome, which what you wanted was for her to say yes to this package. And then all these other things happen too, because now she upgrades to an even bigger package. And now you have this long-term loyal client who's super happy, who's probably going to be a great ambassador out into the marketplace for you, all because you didn't just shoot off a quick email, but because you really spent some time, you thought about it, you crafted it, then you would seek out somebody who could offer you some like tweaks to make it even better, like all these little pieces. And so again, this is one of the reasons I want to have you on the show and to talk about it from a listener perspective too, is that it really does matter. The words you choose matters. The way people respond, it all matters. And then ultimately, it's about getting your outcome, which in this particular case for Jamie was bringing on this, like getting this additional business, knowing she was going to really serve this person who potentially, like, even though she spent more money with you, she actually probably in the long run made more money because now she could focus on working with clients. Like you really identified the easy yes for her. Yeah. And that's the piece I really love.
Yes, definitely. And one of the things about it is my whole business is about writing job postings in a way that attract the right people and are saying the right words. But then when it comes to kind of these sales emails, I'm just like, it feels for the most part, like foreign and uncertain. So being able to have the support where I can have someone go and and check that I am putting language out there in the right way for a sales way for someone to come and pay me money is amazing. Because even though I know how to write things that attract people, it's a completely different thing than what I'm used to.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there will be things that will translate over, but there is something about I always talk about this, like I read emails from the perspective of a reader, and I tweak emails for my clients from the perspective of like, how is this going to land to the reader, and what's the ultimate outcome, and is it really clearly stated? And frankly, I have somebody who helps me with my emails even because we all have blind spots and we know what we mean. Like I know what I'm thinking when I write this email, but sometimes those words don't actually get onto the page. So it doesn't make it into the email. So when the person gets it, it's confusing or it's
Right.
sometimes I just got one yesterday. I'm going to do an episode about this that like at best, this email was super lazy. At worst, it was very condescending. I don't know if you saw this back and forth. There was a lot of discussion in the Sales Maven Society yesterday about a message that I received. I guess it was through LinkedIn. And I'm going to do a podcast episode about it just to start to break this down for people because it's just so important to really pay attention when you want to sell something to somebody, whether it be an idea, whether it's a service, whether it's a product, that you really are willing to put in the effort. And so that it feels like you made effort, not just these like throwaway, like, hey, if you want to buy from me, go ahead. Like, no,
Right.
that's not enough. So yeah.
Right.
Kind of on a
And
soapbox
it's
about
what
it.
I'm telling clients all the time. You can't just say that you're hiring. You need to show people you're putting effort into your hiring process. So yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. All right. So a couple questions for you here. What advice would you give to somebody who has kind of been in a similar situation that maybe considers themselves and knows that they are a really strong writer? And then when they get into these conversations of like wanting to upsell a client or wanting to offer an additional service, what would your advice be for somebody?
To definitely go out and seek help. That it's okay not to be an expert in everything. Just because you're strong at writing in one area does not mean it can translate 100% completely to another area. So getting extra eyes and support, knowing that, as you were saying, Nikki, like people view it differently than how you view it. So even just getting someone to read things over to make sure that you're not missing anything is what you need. You need that additional support. It's even one of those things like you hear about marketers that say, I can't market my own business because I'm too close to it. Sometimes you're too close to things and you need to get a second set of eyes and you need to get the support and you need to be open and willing to say, I need help in order to be at my best. And getting help is like that. Always say like help is not a 4-letter word, that it's something need to avoid. Like
I love that. Yeah, the idea of getting support and reaching out and having somebody, like you said, like an extra set of eyes or have somebody who can like identify something for you that you cannot do for yourself is so important. This is why I truly believe in coaching. This is why, I have a coach. This is why I participate in masterminds. This, like all of these things because people help me see blind spots in my business. So yeah, I love that. Well, thank you for that piece of advice. And thank you for coming on the show to share your success story. I am so excited for you and also for this client who is going to be able to continue to bring revenue into her business. And she's going to have these amazing team members as a result of the work that you guys get to do together. So, all right. So 2 last questions for you here. One is, what would you share as a benefit that you've received, maybe different than what we've already talked about or not? It's up to you. From being in the Sales Maven Society, what's something you're getting out of that?
so something a little different than what we have been talking about is one of the other things, the benefits is being able to identify bad pitches when they come my way, especially being someone who has their own podcast and gets like pitch stuff like all the time, to be able to identify when someone has actually put in the effort behind that pitch versus it's something that they're blasting out the same thing to everybody. So that is one of the benefits that I can now easily identify and say, nope, that is not worth my time. And yes, this is someone I should respond back to and continue the conversation.
We didn't actually even talk. Thank you for that. And we didn't talk about your podcast. So talk a little bit about your podcast. I'm going to ask how people can find you. But before we do that, tell us about the podcast too, because you're a long time, longer than me anyway, podcaster. You've had your podcaster for a while now.
Yeah, so I launched it last January. So we're coming up just a year now. And it's called Growing Your Team. And every episode is about hiring or managing team members. So it's a combination of I'm bringing on guests and then episodes where I'm coming on solo just to give everyone information, guidance, knowledge about growing and managing your teams. The guests is one of the things I love about them is some of them are people that are really knowledge experts in areas where you need to know about when you're hiring a team, like payroll, finances, HR policies, and all that stuff. And the other portion of the guests are people that are coming on and talking about the reality of having team members. They're talking about the places where they messed up and how they made mistakes that resulted in them going through a cycle of team members before finding those right ones, or they're talking about how they scaled their business once getting the right support in. So you're hearing from real business owners that are talking about their journeys that you can relate to.
So we'll have in the show notes the link to Jamie's podcast, but you might want to go check it out, especially if you're thinking I really need to get some clarity around team members and growing my team this year. So I love, love, love that. Okay. And then last, how can people get a hold of you? Because I suspect that there will be people listening to this that are yeah, I don't want to have to write a job description and I don't want to waste time interviewing 80 applicants when you can narrow it down to my top 3 or 5. So how can people find you?
Yeah, so you can get a hold of me at my website, growingyourteam.com, or my direct email is jamie@growingyourteam. And we're on Facebook at Growing Your Team. So pretty much Growing Your Team, you will find me.
That's right. And Jamie spells her name Jamie. So jamie@growingyourteam.com. Just want to make sure. And again, all of this will be in the show notes, but reach out and connect with her, listen to her podcast, hire her to help you grow your team. She is phenomenal. We love her. I personally love her in the group, and she's just a wealth of knowledge. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you saying yes to this and sharing your successes.
Well, thank you for having me, Nikki.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. Now, for you as the listener, if you're ready to ignite your sales, then you are invited to join the Sales Maven Society. This is the place where we connect. You and me, you bring your questions, you bring your struggles, you bring your concerns. Frankly, you bring your email communication that you want some support on. And I am going to guide you and give you language and boost your confidence in all your sales situations. So you can join the Sales Maven Society now by going to www.salesmavensociety.com. This is a membership platform. You can come for 1 month, hang out, check out the trainings, have access to me, or you can come and be like Jamie, who actually is a lifetime member of the group. She signed up for lifetime member access. The membership is $147 a month. I have a coupon code for you, so you can try for your first month for only $47. So you can dip your toe in the water and see is this my jam and are my people hanging out here? Chances are, yes, it is, because it's super cool and the people in there are amazing. So here's the coupon code. So when you go to salesmavensociety.com, enter the coupon code 47trial. So the number 4, the number 7, TRIAL, all one word, and that will take $100 off your first month of membership. Come join us now. We would love to have you be with us. And thank you so much for listening. If we haven't connected yet on social media, please connect. It is such a pleasure to hear from listeners on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and on Facebook. It really makes my day to hear from you. So I would love to connect and learn more about you, whether you want to be in the group or not be in the group. But if you're listening to the podcast, please connect. Let's get to know each other. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Thanks for listening to Sales Maven. Visit us online at yoursalesmaven.com/maven for more resources to boost your confidence and skills.